Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the Man Cave Podcast. Big thanks for tuning in, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Camera's on Brandon over there right now. Say hello.
Hello.
That's our guy, Brandon Berg, the first time. He will not be shaving his head.
I will not.
He will not be shaving his head because his first love, the Brewers, did not advance to the World Series. I don't know if that's your first love. Maybe you had a cat that was your first love or something. I don't know. But it's the first time I've gotten to see you since the collapse or fall or whatever we want to
Can we swear on
call
this
it.
podcast?
We can. Yes.
I would just call it an ass kicking.
All right, we might as well just jump right into that. So, I mean, we kind of talked a little bit on texting back and forth on this. Mm-hmm. We kind of texted a little back and forth. I was making sure we weren't on the air quick. So, so we texted a little bit back and forth on this game, and I don't think there's any way to tee it up to kind of get into this thing. I mean, getting swept by the Dodgers. First off, did it look like a Brewers team that maybe won their series, and that was this? I mean, were they just drained from that Cubs series, or what's going through your mind?
Maybe. I mean, that could be. Maybe it was just kind of the perfect storm of obviously you're coming off the emotional high of an emotional back and forth series with the Cubs. You don't got much time to kind of go back to to kind of reset, because you go from a Saturday game to a Monday game. You're playing a Dodgers team that does have really good pitching. I mean, to me that doesn't absolve them of their ineptitude on offense. Just you can't just say, well, we face good pitching, I guess that's what happens. Like, well, good pitchers get hit. I mean, the Brewers did hit around Yamamoto when they played him in the regular season. The Brewers won all 6 games with the Dodgers in the regular season, so it's not like the Dodgers were this high dollar boogeyman that no one's ever able to beat. So I think it was probably just a combination of things that kind of led to I guess the perfect storm for the Dodgers and maybe the imperfect storm for the Brewers, as and then you look at the offense, and really, I mean, the offense, that wasn't uncommon based on what you saw. I mean, remember, the Brewers only scored 6 runs in the last 3 games of the Cubs series. Yeah. They had 2 games they scored 3, and then they got shut out in Game 4. So, and at the start of the postseason, I had said, this team will go as far as the offense takes it, which is pretty much what happened.
Right.
I mean, the pitching, I don't think you can look at the pitching who gave up 15 runs in 4 games and say they didn't do their job. You give up less than 4 runs a game, you feel pretty like you're in a pretty good spot. And I think as the series went on, that lack of offense, I think maybe kind of wore on the pitching staff a little bit, because they kind of knew it had to be maybe they had to be a little bit finer than they needed to be, just because they knew you weren't going to get a lot of runs for it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, I mean, is that the most frustrating part? I mean, you go back to 2018, you take away Game 1 against the Cubs, really, offensively, and I know we look at the regular season, and that was kind of a big question mark, I think, for a lot of people, was, are they going to have enough offense and that. But, I mean, Christian Yelich going quiet, essentially, right? Bryce Terang, outside of that big home run in Game 3, quiet. Jackson Chourio was probably their most consistent offensive player in this postseason. Yes, Contreras had a couple big hits, especially in the Cubs series. What is with the offense, though, and just completely shutting down, it feels like, these past few years into the postseason? Is that one of your biggest gripes that you have?
And that is the thing. And I think the frustrating thing is, if you go back to, I would say, Game 6 of the 2018 NLCS when they lost to the Dodgers, and they won that game. They put up some early runs and won that game, but they've scored since that game, and that was 7 years ago. There's only 3 times that they've actually scored more than 4 runs. And that's 23, 24 playoff games. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of different lineups. It's been a lot outside of Christian Yelich. It's been a lot of different people. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of different types of lineup. Obviously, this year a lot was made about the Brewers being more of a they scored runs, but more of a contact stolen base type thing. But the Brewers haven't always built their their lineups that way. They've had teams that have hit a bunch of home runs. They've hit home
runs, but they couldn't do anything else.
Right, and that's it. Like there's just been different ways that they've scored runs, but it just seems like the only constant is once the playoffs get here, it doesn't happen. Like for whatever reason, I don't know what that reason is, and that they probably don't either. And that's what's so frustrating about this. It's not like they're doing the same thing over and over and over and getting the same result.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of a player or two, it's been almost a rotating cast of characters a little bit, but the results have always been the same.
Right.
And that's the frustrating thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've changed hitting coaches, and like you mentioned, they've done it different philosophical ways and such. And I don't know if you can point the finger and essentially say this is the reason. I mean, is it just straight up? Because you hear a lot of people talk about it. With the big contracts for some of the hitters, that's why you pay those guys is for the postseason. Is it simply as that they got to go invest more in hitters?
I think so, and that's kind of the catch-22 here because I don't know if they will.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you kind of see after the year, you'll always see kind of people, well, what do the Brewers need to do? And it's like, well, they could go get this here. It's like, yeah, but are they going to pay for it? Like, how many times? I mean, are they paying for a legitimate top shelf guy? Like, you can look at Rhys Hoskins a couple years ago. He was coming off an ACL, and he was a slugger, but he was limited in what he does.
Yep.
And you say, well, they paid for Lorenzo Cain. It's like, yeah, but that was 7 years ago. It's like, Yasmani Grandal, Mike Moustakas, that was 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a much different free agent climate. That's when teams were a lot more kind of tight with their purse strings. Like the reason that, Moustakas and Cain, and those guys were all later free agent signings. Cain, and then obviously we remember when the signing of Cain and trade for Yelich, that would happen in like January.
Mm-hmm.
When they signed Grandal to a one-year deal, when they brought back Moustakas, that was in, I think, February.
Yeah.
So that's just not really happening as much. And I think now players are able to not necessarily settle for those one-year deals. Like I think of someone like Alex Bregman last year. He signed pretty late in the offseason, but it was a one-year contract, and he's probably and with opt-outs. And that's that's been the big thing I think in more recent years is you'll give somebody a 3-year deal, but there's opt-outs.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's probably going to opt out and go into free agency because he has a solid year and he has probably a chance maybe to make more than he would have had he stayed on his contract with the Red Sox. So I just think that if this offense is going to show marked improvement, it's going to have to come from within.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have to come with Bryce Strang and Sal Frelick taking another step, with Garrett Mitchell being able to be healthy, depending on how much of a future how much of a part of the plan he is going for. It's going to have to come from maybe guys like, Jesus Made once they get to the majors, and that still could be a little bit yet,
mm-hmm.
being, kind of reaching their potential.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't think that this team is going to pay for it.
And more from Chirio? Can we ask more from Jackson Chirio? I know everybody had like 30 for 30, but, he was hurt and affected that.
He was, in some ways, I think maybe you could say it was a bit of a disappointing year, but it's for me, it's tough to commit to that because he is still 21.
Mm-hmm.
And development's not linear. If you hit 20 home runs one year, that doesn't mean you're going to hit 25 the next and then 30 the next.
Right.
And you mentioned there were some injuries in there, and I think it took him some adjusting to kind of adjust to how teams adjusted to him.
Mm-hmm.
But make no mistake about it, he's still an absolute cornerstone of this team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's someone that if he gets a little better, if it goes suddenly he's hitting in homers in the upper 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, taking some more walks, which he did as the season went on. I mean, he started the year with, he went so long without really drawing any walks.
Right.
Which is always, you understand why he hits at the top of the lineup, but that's always a little bit tougher just because you like to have people at the top of your lineup to get on base, which.
I mean, didn't opening day he strike out 4 times?
Right.
Like 0 for 4 or 4 strikeouts?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, he's definitely someone that's, going to be a part of that. Like, it's just. Even though his second half was better, like William Contreras offensively wasn't quite what he was the last few years. And obviously he was battling injuries throughout the year, so that's probably a reason for that. But I just think that if this team is going to ultimately take the next step, which is now going to be the conversation, like it's going to come from the offense. I think at this point, I don't want to speak for all Brewers fans, but I think a lot of Brewers fans are confident they're going to be able to manufacture the pitching.
Yeah.
Be it the young guys they've got, be it the veterans they've got, be it the people they find, they're able to just kind of find.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think there's too many times in the last 7 or 8 years we've said, they just didn't have the pitching.
Right.
It seems like it always comes down to the offense.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been able to consistently develop the pitching. The offense, they've had people that have popped up, but it hasn't been as consistent as the pitching, I don't think, when it comes to the development.
So, I mean, you're looking at the upcoming year. Obviously, there's questions galore. I think two of the biggest ones are Freddie Peralta and Joey Ortiz. Let's start with Ortiz. Offensively, since we're talking about offense, can you continue to throw him out there? Great defensive shortstop. I mean, fantastic, right? I mean, he's probably saved a boatload of runs and that. But can you continue to put him in that lineup if he's going to, which is, I know it's his second year because, his first year, there were times he was batting in the third spot in his first year with Milwaukee. So how much do we look at this year and ignore his first year? Do we give him another shot? I say we, like we're part of the Brewers, but do the Brewers give him another shot? Like, how do you approach that shortstop? And you got Cooper Pratt potentially.
Right. You have some younger guy, but like they're kind of in a unique spot with that because you're right. There are younger guys, and we don't know. Like Cooper Pratt had an all right year offensively in AA, but the Southern League is always a very pitcher-friendly league, so you kind of have to look at his numbers with a grain of salt and say, okay, they weren't eye-popping, but nobody was really putting up eye-popping numbers in that league just because it's very pitcher-friendly. Jesus Mate reached AA at the end of the year, so I mean, you've got some other guy, obviously some other young guys too that basically a year from now this could be a very different conversation.
Yeah.
But my thought is right now, you come to spring training, but I don't think Joey Ortiz comes to spring training as unopposed for that spot. Do you bring in a veteran on a 1-year deal? Someone like just basically someone that you kind of give them the idea, hey, we're going to let you compete for the shortstop job. If you don't get it, you can still be our top utility infielder. And who that is, I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't really perused the what's available out there yet. But I think you have to provide a little competition there because as you said, the defense, there's no issues there, but the offense, like that just can't happen. I mean, Joey Ortiz did nothing in the postseason. He was offensively, he was not alone,
right?
But that's one of those times where you're looking for, okay, who steps up if someone struggles? Really, especially in the NLCS, like a lot of people struggled. I mean, the only offensive player you could say in the NLCS that hit their weight was probably Caleb Durbin.
Yeah,
and it was extra base hits, like, but everyone else, like that's just kind of the thing. Like everyone was kind of looking around for somebody to step up, and nobody really did.
Right.
There were opportunities.
It just felt like a flat, non-energetic. And I know it's hard. The body language talk and all that, but it just felt like they were a drained team at times.
Right.
In those games.
I would agree, and I think probably part of it was the NLDS took a lot out of them, and you allude to it on the during the show on Tuesday about how maybe now winning a series like that, you kind of learn like, okay, you have to learn that like you can't put everything out there knowing that you have bigger things in mind. Like,
right.
Not saying you don't try hard or anything like that, but like you just can't be 100% on your energy because hey, if you win. And I think that's what happened. You just had a team that kind of ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Dodgers took care of business against the Phillies, so they had a little more time to kind of set things up the way they like. And look, that's a more veteran lineup. Like, that's a team that you don't have to tell Freddie Freeman what it takes to win the postseason. You don't have to tell Will Smith. You don't have to tell
Max Muncy.
All those guys. Like they know. Like, and that's maybe part of it is you just kind of had two teams kind of in two different spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then the other question, Freddie Peralta. Now we know the situation. He's entering his final year. It's a fairly cheap.
It's a team option for him, $8 million.
Yeah,
which,
it's
even the Brewers would be willing to pay.
Yep. But we've seen the Brewers, a couple examples of trading Devin Williams with a year left, trading Corbin Burns with a year left. They did not do that with Willie Adames. So what I don't know if you have a thought. I have no idea what they're going to do. But I guess the question I'm going to ask is, does the looming potential 2027 work stoppage factor into a decision whether you trade Freddie Peralta? As in like, okay, we're going to try to go again for 2026. Keep Freddie Peralta on the roster. Does that factor in at all that, hey, we could be missing games in 2027, so why not go for 2026?
I guess kind of addressing that first, I agree with you. I think they're going to have a work stoppage in 2027. I just think there's too many things out there that are kind of points of contention that we're not, that we're not gonna, that all those things are not gonna get solved.
Right.
So I do think 2027 is going to have interrupted baseball. How much I don't know, but that was something I hadn't really considered for the Peralta thing specific. My thought is, I do think they're gonna kind of gauge interest. I think you've already seen some national reporters kind of saying that sounds like that they'll engage teams that reach out to them, which, I mean, I don't know how much of a breaking news thing that is anyway, because for the most part, teams do it all the time, especially a team like the Brewers.
Right.
If someone reaches out to you and says, hey, we'll give you, 3 top 100 prospects for Freddie Peralta, you're going to engage in that topic. If someone says, hey, we'll give you, a AA first baseman and a player to be named later, well, no, you're probably not going to, but you're still engaging in a conversation.
Right. Yeah.
So, but my thought is, unless you're overwhelmed, like I'm fine with just keeping him, because I think as much as you really like that, the young guys you're going to have next year, Mizrowski, Patrick, Robert Gasser, Logan Henderson, we'll see what happens with like a D.L. Hall or an Aaron Ashby, but like you like Quinn Priester, like you have a really good young core. It would still be nice to have that guy at the top that you don't have to tell Mizrowski, okay, you're in that one, you're in the one spot, or you don't have to tell Priester you're in the one spot, like just like someone else that just is, kind of has that role of the stopper, and that's something Peralta's been the last few years. So, and for, obviously the money, $8 million, whatever, like what you're going to get, unless someone, knocks your socks off, what you're going to get in a trade, it's going to be probably comparable to Corbin Burns. Now, Corbin Burns was better. He was a Cy Young winner, but Corbin Burns almost made nearly double what Freddie Peralta is going to make on that. So they kind of, it balances out a little bit.
Right.
Which would be, Joey Ortiz, which in at that time, and in many prospect circles, he was a top 100 guy. You had D.L. Hall, who was kind of a post type guy. He was a guy that a few years before that was looked at pretty highly, but that was when they thought he could be a starter. And now maybe it's looking like he's more of a reliever. Like that's kind of what you're looking at. Would you right now? Obviously we have 2 years of knowledge of of Joey Ortiz and D.L. Hall to kind of know what they are.
Right.
Would you make that trade? It's like, well, at the time, it was about what you were going to do. Like nobody was going to come in here and knock your socks off because it's a player with 1 year left. And you bring up the labor stoppage. Does that uncertainty for somebody else, because you don't know what the landscape is going to look like after 2026.
Right.
Does that make you say, well, even though he's a free agent, it's like, well, what if Freddie goes somewhere and he really likes it and they engage in talks and maybe they get an extension done? Or
does that make that other team that's potentially interested to pay more?
Right.
For a guy, you know what I mean? Like,
because
pay a little bit more, sort of thing.
The thing I would say
in terms of trade acquisition,
right?
Capital.
And the thing I will say is that $8 million option, I think, has a lot more teams in the game.
Yes.
Versus, with Burns, it was 12, 13, 14, whatever it was. It was, that's something that not a lot of teams, or that many teams won't pay. I won't say they can't. I'll say they won't. There's a difference there. But $8 million for a guy that can be, a top of the rotation type guy, like,
has been healthy
and has been very durable. Like that's something that more teams would probably be willing to engage you in. And the more teams you have involved in trade talks, the better offers you're going to get. But if I was the Brewers, I would listen, but I think I would just keep him. I just think he has more value with the Brewers for next year. Almost as like,
I compare it to Willie, where in terms of the locker room sort of thing,
right? And that's another, and that's another thing too. And I just think giving one more year to kind of see how those young guys settle out, and then a year from now, if ultimately Freddie Peralta leaves, like then maybe another year of growth for all those young guys I mentioned leaves you in a much better spot. Because
I think too, like what you mentioned a little bit there, it's not like they're going to trade Freddie to try to get more pitching. They've got enough depth, it feels like. So it's not like, hey, we got to trade him to try to get more controllable pitchers. They've got that,
right?
Essentially.
To me, if you're looking at, what are you looking at for the offseason for the Brewers? Like, you're still looking offense.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
So does that mean this offseason, the most pressure is on Marca Inacio?
I think there's always going to be pressure on him. And, what do you, especially coming off the year they did, like, what are you willing to put in?
Right.
And look, that's been a very big point of contention with Brewers fans. Like, that's kind of the one thing with a lot of ownerships. You can even ask Cubs fans. Like, they're not always happy with the Ricketts family because they feel they should be spending more as a legacy franchise and majors.
I had a
in
Cubs
Major League
fan
Baseball.
tell,
and honestly, I agree with him.
yeah, I had a Cubs fan tell me after the Brewers jumped out to a 2-0 lead, say, you know, at this point, I hope the Brewers just beat them, so that puts more pressure on Ricketts to spend more.
Right.
And it's like a little different of mindset
It
for
is.
Brewers fans a little bit, you know, because we know the ownership. You know, it's like
right.
who's willing to spend it.
And it's frustrating because I don't think no one's ever expecting the Brewers to spend what the Dodgers or the Mets or whoever, the Yankees, whoever spent. But you feel like there's been years in the past where they've spent more. 2019, I think, was the high water mark for the payroll, and that was like 136 or something like that.
Right.
Like there's still ways to go to get there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And it doesn't have to be big, but just like one move where you're just like, oh, like you. In some ways, kind of like what was with Rhys Hoskins, even though Rhys Hoskins was a flawed player, it's like, okay, yeah, they spent on Rhys Hoskins, but that was in part because they still had, but really the payroll wasn't still at that level that it was 2019.
Right. Yeah, when you look at this upcoming offseason and such, we touched on, Ortiz and shortstop, Garrett Mitchell. It's kind of an unknown here too. What position do they try to get that power from then? Because I think Caleb Durbin played well enough to get a starting job, right?
I think so. I'm still wondering about the possibility of Turang at short.
Yeah.
Because I still think Durbin ultimately is a better at second base, even though he played well third.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a place where you can get the power.
Right.
Third base. I mean, you could get a second baseman, I guess it's power, but there's more third basemen that hit for power than second baseman.
Do you roll with Andrew Vaughn as a starter next year?
I think he's a guy in the mix. I would basically like to see them upgrade Jake Bauers and that's somebody that you can mix and match with Vaughn. A lefty that hits righties that, you can still, if you want to, give Vaughn that opportunity, that's fine. But you still have that other guy you can kind of mix in there when,
right. Hey,
here's a stretch where you're playing, 5 righties in a row. Okay, well, this guy gets a couple starts in there because Vaughn, obliterated left-handed pitching. Every time, there's a lefty on the mound, he should be out there. But someone that you can mix and match a little bit with him that gives you power from the left-hand side that you can kind of utilize those matchups. Now, who that is, I'm not sure. But I just think of, and Jake Bauers had I would say a solid year for him and what he was asked to do, but I still think you can upgrade from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, speaking of a guy who actually contributed in the postseason was probably Bauers, though, too.
Yeah, he was one of their better hitters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can talk a little bit about ultimately what that means, and
right.
That's probably why they were out in 4 in the NLCS. But look, yeah, you can definitely say Bauers was one of their better hitters down the stretch and in the postseason as well. He had some big hits.
Mm-hmm. So the question that I've been throwing out for a lot of people, and I know we kind of touched on it before the Brewers were done, just kind of forecasting, is it a failure of a season? I'm ready for a big rant now, dude.
No, that's what I get for taking a drink of water while you were talking.
I've choked him up, people.
Oh, yeah. I will say no, but let's put it this way. If I had...
Yep. You're making my eyes water, dude.
Went down the wrong tube, but...
I can tell.
I know.
Hey, you don't have to cry. They get to play again next year, dude.
No, if I had 2 cups in front of me, and you gave me a sack of marbles and said, okay, we're going to go through everything that happened with the Brewers this year. Tell me, was it a success or a failure?
Yeah.
I'd probably have more marbles in the success cup.
Yeah.
But there would definitely be some in the failure cup, and kind of something some of your listeners said where, look, they won 97 games. They were the 1 seed. Like, how often is this going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
How often are the stars going to kind of align the way they did? And it's kind of one of those things where, like, you kind of need to take advantage of your opportunities when they're there.
Right.
And, having the home field advantage. Now, granted, the Dodgers being a 3 seed is, again, also something that's not going to happen very often. But still,
right.
You're going to have to beat them at one point.
Mm-hmm.
I would say there would be more marbles in that success cup, but there would be some for a couple reasons in the in the failure one, and in part because, if you said at the start of the year, hey, this is what's going to happen, we'd sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
If you said it in August and September, you kind of be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But I'm willing to bet the percentage, if you took a popular vote, would be a little, at the beginning of the year, probably very, very leaning heavily towards, success.
Mm-hmm.
But if you took it in August, September, it'd probably be a little bit closer.
Because expectations change throughout
yeah,
the
exactly.
season, right?
Expectations change throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then you beat the Cubs and you're going in the LCS, you got home field advantage. It's like, okay, yeah, we know the Dodgers are really, really good, but it's like.
But we swept them.
Right,
you
won all
season.
6 of them during the regular season. And it's like. So then it's okay for expectations to change.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, though, kind of taking the big picture view, I still do think it was a successful year. But you can also look at it and go, man, but.
A lot of what ifs.
Yes. And it's not going to. No, look, you're not going to have the same kind of languishing that, probably Mariners fans are having right now.
Right.
Where it was a 7-game series and you were up and, then it was the big swing in Game 7 for the Blue Jays that put them up front. And then. You had a chance to do something you've never done. In Milwaukee's case, you haven't done in a long time, and it just got away from you.
Yep.
Like there's going to be a lot more of, frustration. I'm sure Seattle Sports Radio for a while is going to be, pretty frustrated when it comes to how it ended for the Mariners, even though it was a tremendous season, arguably the best they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
But I will still take the big picture view and say ultimately I will say it's a success, even if the ending was frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's where it's like the ending was disappointing. It was, to me, a successful season with a disappointing ending.
Right. And, that happens, to 12 teams that make the postseason. Ultimately, that probably happens to 11 of them.
Right, exactly. That's why they only crown one.
Right.
You're going to have 11 disappointed fan bases.
Right.
11 disappointed teams.
Right.
So I just, you have a lot of people saying it's the same song and dance for the Brewers. It's gets to the postseason. And we kind of joked about it. I know I did. I was, earlier, halfway through the season, I'm ready to get my heart broken and such. And, we did. I don't know if it's going to be, this is the normal way. I don't, we've gotten people saying that it's Brewers with the way it's built in MLB will never win a World Series and such, which I don't want to say never with this. Because, how far are they really off on this thing?
Right, and that's kind of what Christian Yelich said. And honestly, that was something that, as the series went on, I got frustrated with was how quickly so many people just threw their hands in the air and say, well, the Dodgers spent a lot of money. Yeah. It's like, yeah, but you beat him 6 times in the regular season. You smacked around Yamamoto when you played him. Like, to me, it almost felt like a lot of fans went into that series with that excuse in their pocket that they could just bring out the first second there was a sign of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And look, it is a inequitable landscape in baseball right now. But it is not impossible for the Milwaukee Brewers to win a World Series.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they were in a position where they had home field advantage, like, look, you're going to have to play really well.
Right.
But you're going to have to play really well anyway. You're not going to be able to stumble your way into a World Series.
Right.
How many times do we talk about, when a team wins a championship, you have some things break your way.
A little luck is involved.
In the Cubs series, you could probably make that case for a couple things.
Right.
The Dodgers series, that wasn't the case. But also, you need your big players to step up. I know earlier on in the playoffs, that wasn't Ohtani. He struggled, but other people did.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the NLCS. Christian Yelich, William Contreras, Jackson Chourio, Frelick, Turang. Yeah. What did they do? A whole lot of nothing. Like, you can't have that. You need more out of those players than that in that spot, and they did not deliver at all. To me, being so quick to go to that point, you're almost trying to give the Brewers a pass, especially those players I just mentioned. And those players, they should have their feet to the fire. This should bug them this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
We should get to February when they're down in Arizona for spring training, and we should hear Yelich and Contreras and Frelick and those guys saying, "Yeah, this really bugged me all offseason. This really motivated me to put in the time, put in the effort."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's what I think as a fan you should want to hear is, because I don't want to say that it mattered to them, because we know it did. Like, I'm not going to stand here and say, well, it doesn't even feel like they care. Of course they do.
Right.
But you want to see this lead to something bigger tangibly by the result.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we sucked in this round, and you know what? We took steps in the offseason. We did this, that, or whatever to try to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm. Play a little what if here, and I don't think it would change the outcome of the series, but how much would it? What if the Brewers stole Game 1? You know what I'm talking about? Should Turang have wore it, or if he would have gotten a hit or something?
Right.
If they somehow stole Game 1 after that fantastic performance from Blake Snell, I don't know if it changes the outcome of the series, but you wonder from a mindset standpoint, does it change a little bit?
Maybe, and you're right. I don't know ultimately if it changed it because I'm not sure a play there suddenly turns this team into an offense that was scoring 5 runs a game.
Right.
Does it mean that, say they win game 1, can they maybe steal one in Los Angeles and the series just gets back to Milwaukee? Maybe instead of in 4, it's in 6.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But I don't know. Like the way it was going, like even if, for however they won game 1, they won game 1, I still don't think it means ultimately that's pushing the Brewers to the World Series just because of what we saw the rest of the way. Even though I'm sure game 1 was a downer.
Right.
I don't know if that totally flips everything.
I would almost argue that if Terrain got a hit in that situation, that would have maybe changed more than just wearing it.
Right, because then it's a tie game. I mean, it's possible they go to extras and lose.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're right. I agree. Like, as much as, at the time and even now I'm still like, yeah, you probably could have.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. It's a split-second thing. It's like, but you just literally did not have to move.
Right,
like,
right.
I'm not asking you to move into the pitch. You're asking you not to move.
Right.
But regardless, like, I still don't know if ultimately that is the difference between them ultimately winning or losing that series. I can't go down that road.
I can't either. It's going to be a what if though. That's probably and yeah. I don't know if Terrain's going to sit there and think about you talk about the offseason and such too. It's like, what if I would have done that, or what if I wouldn't have swung at the high heats? In that
ball up at the
strikeout.
eyes, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's what athletes are going to do all offseason when they fall short of the ultimate goal. Yep. They're going to look at different points in that season, like, okay, what if I did something here, or what if I would have gotten a hit here, or what if I would have struck out that guy here? That sort of thing. It's everybody's going to go through it.
Right.
Devin Williams probably really went through it last year in the offseason.
Sure. I'm sure the pitcher from the Mariners is probably going through that, after the 3-run shot from the Blue Jays in Game 7 of the ALCS.
Right. But that's why, it's the other team plays too. The other players play too.
Right. And that's kind of one of those things, like after Game 1, like it's like, Blake Snell, you just kind of tip your hat, but then it's like, but that happened again in Game 2, and then Game 3. It's like, it was an all-timer effort by Blake Snell in Game 1, and then even following up with Yamamoto in Game 2. But also it's like, the offense was just abysmal. Like really, like I said, the last 6 games of the postseason.
Right. I hear Manny Ramirez.
7 games of the postseason.
Yeah, I hear Manny Ramirez wants to be a hitting coach. Do we add him on? Then
well, they've already got 3 hitting coaches, whatever it is. You just gonna have a hitting coach for every player. I don't know.
I know exactly. So, all right. So before I let you go, Brandon, do you two things? Do you want to vent? This is your last chance to kind of shut Pandora's box, if you will. Yep. And second, what maybe gives you a little bit of hope for next year?
At this point, venting wise, like I think I'm kind of through it. And I kind of spoke my piece a little bit earlier about a couple things that were just kind of bugging me a little bit coming out of the series. At this point, you said as I said at the start of the postseason, the offense will take this team as far as it goes, and it did.
Right.
As far as there's definitely still reasons for optimism. Like this is a team that's still pretty young. It's a lot of your centerpieces are still there, and you've got a top 5 farm system. By all accounts, according to Baseball America, the number 1 farm system. Some guys that were last year were 2 years away. Now they could make an impact. Coming up in 2026 in time, maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like I feel like coming off that year, I would like to see them make that move that maybe people don't expect. That are just like, almost I don't say like invigorates the fan base, but like coming off a trip to the NLCS almost says like, hey, we got you here. Like, because the most Brewers thing they could do is, let's say they trade Freddie Peralta, and then they sign some veteran pitcher. Maybe they bring back Jose Quintana. Who knows? But and then you kind of go with the young guys elsewise
or Woodruff
or Woodruff. And you kind of for the most part keep the position players the same, and you roll into next year and you say, well, we pretty much won 97 games with pretty much this group, and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. But if there's just a move out there where maybe it's a trade, maybe it's more likely to be a trade than a free agent signing, that you almost have fans in December, early January, and go, you know what? After that, I can't wait for baseball. You got people lighting up, your text line the day after going, you know what? That's what I wanted to see them do. Take a swing. Like and I don't know what that is. If that's if that's a third baseman, if that's, maybe it's
a first baseman too.
A first base, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a second baseman if you decide to move Terang to short. Whatever it is. Just something where you go, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but I really like it. Like I said, I want somebody that at the end of December is saying like, hey, obviously, it's football season stuff, but like, holy cow, when does pitchers and catchers report? Because I'm ready for this.
Right.
And
very similar to 18.
Right, and I don't know who that is. I don't know what that is.
Yep.
I just want them to do something that's not just kind of like, well, we're just going to stay the course, and and even though that could still lead to more success next year, like I want them to understand that there's an opportunity they could potentially seize. Yeah.
Right. No, I agree, man. All right, got it all out. We're on to the Bucks, and halfway through. You do want to really vent about Chris McIntosh's?
I actually didn't mind the statement from the viewpoint of, at this point, I don't think you're firing Luke Fickell during the year. I don't see what it accomplishes.
Yeah.
Because you fire him and you elevate one of his assistants who's not going to be here for the year anyway. Like when they fired Paul Chryst, I understood it because, even if it was a big surprise, because like they wanted to get a look at Jim Leonard.
Right.
There's not that guy on the staff right now that you're like, okay, their next, if they were to get rid of Jim, or if they were to get rid of Luke Fickell, their next head coach is not on their staff.
And look at the schedule.
So what's the point? What's the point? Just ride the year out with him. Like at this point, that's fine. I didn't mind the idea that he basically said, "Hey, we're gonna put more money at it," but like, one, that's something you should have been doing a while ago.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like, "Hey, we're late to the party, but we're at the party now. Woo, let's party." It's like, well, everyone else has been partying for a while right now, so you got some catching up to do.
Exactly.
And like.
I feel like Fickell's going to be back next year, though. That's kind of what the picture paints, too. So.
I do, too. I think at this point, and especially because, if McIntosh is back, I feel like Fickell's back.
Yeah.
And I feel like, because he understands, like, as much as there's other things that have happened in the program, in the athletic program, like, his future is tied to Luke Fickell.
Yeah. It is. 100%.
If Luke Fickell's a failure, Chris McIntosh is not this AD in 2 years.
Nope. And you're going to be looking for a new AD and then a new head football coach.
Right. So
when was the last time that happened in Wisconsin? Were you looking for both at the same time?
And you would think you would hire the AD first. It's kind of like the old in the NFL, like you hire the head coach and then you hire the coordinator, kind of thing,
or the GM and then
the
head
GM.
coach.
The head. You would think right. So, but I don't see him being gone, and I think you're right. I think they may give him another year, right or wrong. And I think the big reason is the buyout.
I do too.
I just don't think they want to pay it.
Yep.
And maybe, unlike other schools, they haven't had the boosters that have stepped up to say, hey.
Or maybe this is a way to say, hey, we're going to keep him. Wink, wink, unless you give us a lot of cash. All right, Brandon, thanks for coming in and voicing your frustrations a little bit. You're saving it for Festivus, too.
Go Brewers.
I can imagine. So,
Go Brewers.
Go Brewers. That's going to do it for us on this episode of the Man Cave Podcast. Again, don't forget to follow, subscribe, Spotify, Apple, 5-star reviews, 5-star rating, positive review, so others can find the podcast and check us out on YouTube. Till next time, I'm Dan. That's Brandon. We'll talk to you on the next episode of the Man Cave Podcast.